What is going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You're a returning subscriber as always, guys. Welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Guys, we got some big news out of Arkansas where this guy right here, Grant Hardin, inmate, former chief of police turned R-wordist and murderer who was missing for almost 3 weeks, was caught yesterday recently. And get this guy was caught a 1.5 miles away from the same prison he broke out of 3 weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago. Go figure. Here's the latest on him getting caught, and we'll come back and talk about it.
An escaped murderer known as the Devil in the Ozarks, captured after nearly 2 weeks on the run. Arkansas law enforcement officers announcing that Grant Hardin, a former police chief serving a decades-long prison sentence, is back in custody. Take a look at these just released pictures of when Hardin was found. You see him there hiding out in the woods, surrounded by law enforcement. This is the image of the moment Hardin escaped from prison on Sunday, May 25th, disguised, you see him there, as a law enforcement officer. The escape triggering a massive manhunt in northern Arkansas, officials saying he was discovered just 1.5 miles west of the prison he was being held in. The question tonight, how was he able to evade police for so long? NBC's George Solis joins us tonight with the breaking details. George, walk us through this.
Yeah, Tom. So this, as you mentioned, ends a 2-week search for Hardin. The man known as the Devil of the Ozarks was captured this afternoon by Arkansas law enforcement and with the help of U.S. border near Moccasin Creek in Izard County, Arkansas. This is roughly 1.5 miles from the facility he had initially escaped from in Calico Rock, Arkansas, back on May 25th. Officials telling us his identity was confirmed by fingerprint analysis. Now, according to authorities, tracking dogs were able to pick up Hardin's scent, and ultimately, Hardin himself, his capture ends nearly a 2-week manhunt that included hundreds of local, state, and federal agencies. Authorities say Hardin, who was a former Arkansas police chief who was convicted of past rape and murder, had walked out of that facility after he disguised himself in that makeshift law enforcement uniform. Now, an image of him in that outfit pushing that wheeled cart was that last known sighting before the escape. Now, law enforcement officials acknowledging his background in law enforcement had made the search much more difficult. But tonight, Tom, he is back in custody.
And George, I understand you have a bit of new reporting that's just in. Arkansas's Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders just released a statement about the arrest.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. I have it here in front of me. In that statement, she says, thanks to the great work of local, state, and federal law enforcement, Arkansas can breathe a sigh of relief, and I can confirm that violent criminal Grant Hardin is back in custody. She goes on to say, I am grateful for all the law enforcement who contributed to his capture, even giving a nod to the Trump administration and Secretary Kristi Noem for providing those U.S. Marshals and aiding with that search. Tom?
George Solis with the breaking news. The Devil of the Ozarks has been captured. All right, George, we thank you for that.
First tonight, prison escapee Grant Hardin is now in custody after a nearly 2-week-long manhunt. These are new pictures we are getting from the Arkansas Border Patrol as Hardin was captured. Hardin was located this afternoon near Moccasin Creek in Izard County by Arkansas law enforcement and U.S. Border Patrol after tracking dogs picked up on his scent. And new at 10, we're learning from Rand Champion from the Department of Corrections that Hardin will now be housed at the Varner Unit, the most secure facility in the Arkansas prison system. It's also where death row inmates are held. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for your 5 News at 10. I'm Morgan Wrigley. Darren has the night off. We're continuing to follow the latest as the Stone County Sheriff's Office says that the public is, quote, no longer in danger. 5 News reporter Parker Abels is here right now with more on the capture. And what are you learning tonight, Parker?
Well, Morgan, Grant Hardin was found today at 3:45 just outside a mile of North Central Unit in Calico Rock. And with Hardin officially back in custody, I broke down what the last couple weeks has been like. On May 25th, the Devil and the Ozarks escaped from North Central Unit Prison in the middle of the day by using a makeshift police uniform and walking out the front gate. That according to the Arkansas Department of Corrections. And from there, the search began. For nearly 2 intense weeks, a massive manhunt unfolded with local, state, and federal agencies, including the U.S. Marshals and Border Patrol, mobilized to bring him in. Tips and possible sightings poured in from multiple counties, even spilling across state lines, adding to the urgency of the case. Since busting out of prison, Hardin racked up new charges: escape from Izard County, and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution in the Eastern District of Arkansas. A combined $25,000 reward from the FBI and U.S. Marshals was on the table for any information that led to his capture. But now that he's in custody, it remains a mystery who, if anyone, will claim it. The ADC said Hardin was finally tracked down near Moccasin Creek in Izard County thanks to the sharp noses of tracking dogs and the relentless efforts of the Arkansas law enforcement and U.S. Border Patrol. After his capture, Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders said Arkansans can breathe a sigh of relief. The Izard County Sheriff's Department said Grant Hardin was found around 1.5 miles north of the prison he escaped from, and his identity has since been confirmed via fingerprinting. We sincerely appreciate the continued support of the community for all law enforcement and Department of Corrections personnel involved in this operation, said Izard County Sheriff's Office. And with Hardin back in custody, officials are now saying the threat to the public is finally gone. Parker Abels, 5 News.
As you've seen it, the devil of the Ozarks is caught. Looking stupid as hell out there. And I'm going to tell you something, listen. One of the things that, with this whole situation, people run for different reasons. Now, this man was already locked up, sentenced, doing his time. Now they done shipped him to a supermax called Varner, the most secure place in Arkansas. I hope it was worth it. He out there, they done took pictures of him, facing the dirt. They standing over him, holding their tool belts. And he's sitting there like they were hunters, and he's a prize pig or a shot buck or something down there dead while they're taking pictures next to him. Embarrassing. Embarrassing. Then you get up and make a smirk like the criminal that you are. You know that criminal smirk? Looking stupid. You went from being up here on as top of the food chain in the criminal system, like the first line of defense, all the way to a criminal yourself. Then you go out on the run and you 1.5 miles away. They swearing you all over the place and you right up under their nose. This go to tell you, go to show you, people that break out of prison, they have a rough time trying to even just settle back in, past the escape. They don't even have time to settle themselves. And there's your proof. This guy got all this wilderness training and stuff like that, but he was 1.5 miles away from where he escaped from. That's not very smart. So all of that training they said he had, and police training, it still don't have nothing to do with your own intellect and being in the position that he was in and problem solving. It makes no sense. People are at where they at in life for a reason. This guy looks stupid as hell. I just did 50 push-ups. That's why I'm breathing like this. So you're probably like, why is Steve breathing like this? But anyway, what do you say? Seriously, what do you say? They caught him. They can rest a sigh of relief. Ass didn't go back to his own prison. They shipped him off somewhere secure. I guess it was worth it to him. Either way, man, he's off the street. The devil of the Ozarks. They caught him. It is what it is. I'm Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Yeah, he got a taste of a little bit of freedom. But what he experienced while he was out there, I don't know if it was worth it. This goes to show you, people are out here before they get sent to jail or they do something, and they take for granted a lot of the freedoms of them being able to go to and fro and not risk being in a position where you got to be chased like an animal, hunted with dogs, because they said tracking dogs found him. That's a hell of a feeling. Either way, man, he's caught. That's it. Get him out of here. Oh, yeah, let me say this before I get out of here. I had edited this before I did my outro. I want you to hear something. Anybody pay attention to the photos of him? He still had the prison clothes on that he left in the makeshift prisoner clothes. This is the difference. And when you break out as a man and you have no help, nobody was helping this guy. So he had the same clothes on. He looked dirty. He looked tore up. Couldn't get far away. And it shows you in reference to the situation with these New Orleans, Louisiana escapees, because this was all around the same time all of this was happening. You see them, you know somebody helping them. They got fly clothes on. They ain't been found. Don't know where they are. Whereas this guy had no resources or anybody in his corner. You see the difference. And thus he got caught. Let me tell you something. When you out there in them woods, you know a human being is a social being, regardless if you're a criminal or not. And you stuck out there in the woods, you got to feed yourself. You're running out of resources, ain't got no money, got the same clothes on. No matter how much training you got as a police officer and stuff, you still go home after the training. It ain't as grueling and extensive as that. So regardless of the training he had, he wasn't used to training that long, that hard for any type of scenario that put him in that position. So after a while, you're going to get caught eventually if you don't have no resources. I just wanted to show you the difference between that and the New Orleans jailbreak. Thanks for listening.